What if the world's most enduring nightmare is the pale figure at your window, the stranger with the too sharp smile aren't born from myth, but from a chilling biological reality? Imagine, just for a moment, that the legends haunting every culture, those of vampires, strigoi, jiangshi, Manananggal, aren't exaggerated tales spun around a campfire, but the faint echo of an ancient plague, a mutagenic virus, stealthy and clever, that doesn't turn people into monsters with a flash of magic, but with the cold precision of evolution. Here's a question that might keep you up tonight. What if you've already crossed paths with someone infected, and you never knew? Tonight, we're diving into the terrifying possibility that the Vatican's secret fears about vampirism aren't about the supernatural, but the scientific, that somewhere, hidden in the folds of forgotten history and classified medical reports, lies evidence of a real vampirism virus, one that rewrites biology, erases humanity, and patiently waits in the shadows. Why does the Vatican, with all its centuries of myth-busting and miracle-making, worrying about the possibility that this so-called curse is not only real but viral? Welcome to Tales Mythology, where tonight we step far beyond Dracula into a world where science, history, and horror collide. Most people laugh at vampire stories. I did too till tragedy forced me to look closer. Years ago, a friend of mine's Mart, rational, a scientist, did mysteriously. The signs were there: strange wounds, unexplained blood loss, no signs of violence. It was the kind of case that vanishes into the unsolved folder, unless you're willing to believe in monsters. That's when I started to see patterns. Was it paranoia, grief, or had our ancestors, in their own way, recognized something real and left us clues we're only now able to decipher? Tonight, I'll take you on a journey through forbidden Vatican files, chilling folklore, and cutting-edge virology. We'll ask uncomfortable questions. Could vampirism be a mutation? Is the real reason for garlic, crucifixes, and midnight rituals less about faith and more about science? And why does this ancient terror seem engineered to survive alongside us, hidden in plain sight? To truly understand why the Vatican, and indeed anyone who studies the edges of human belief, might fear a real vampirism virus, we have to strip away centuries of Gothic romance and superstition. Let's leave the capes and castles behind. Instead, imagine a virus as ruthless as nature itself, one that rewrites our bodies and minds in the service of its own survival. Picture this: not a curse, but a contagion. A human vampiric virus, let's call it, of spreading not by dark magic, but by blood and saliva. Think about how diseases like rabies or HIV hijack the human body. HIV takes it further. It invades every cell but your red blood cells, reprogramming your biology on the fly. The transformation isn't instant. It starts low: fever, chills, headaches. These symptoms, so common they'd be shrugged off as the flu, are merely the opening act. But then comes the twist, the vampiric coma. Imagine your body shutting down, muscles tearing and knitting themselves anew, your bones subtly reshaping, your senses recalibrating for the hunt. Most people wouldn't survive. Only those in the prime of life, 18 to 50, emerge, reborn as something that blurs the line between man and predator. Is this just speculative fiction? Maybe. But history is filled with stories of plagues that changed society and our bodies in unexpected ways. The Black Death turned cities upside down. Rabies can trigger aggression, hydrophobia, and irrational behaviors that fueled werewolf and vampire legends. Even the word virus comes from the Latin for poison, a reminder that fear of infection has haunted humanity since the dawn of civilization. Now, let's take a detour. Real-life medical mysteries sometimes echo ancient myths. Take porphyry, a rare blood disorder that can cause extreme sensitivity to sunlight, pale skin, and even gum recession, making teeth look fang-like. Or consider hypertrichosis, the so-called werewolf syndrome, which results in hair growing all over the body. These conditions, though rare, may have inspired stories of monsters and driven panicked communities to seek protection in ritual and superstition. Imagine waking up after this transformation. Your muscles are stronger, faster, wired for explosive movement. Your heart and the center of life has stopped. Instead, blood is pumped by your skeletal muscles, like peristalsis moving food through the gut. The skin pulls blood inward, turning you pale and almost translucent. Fangs, real and functional, grow painfully in your jaw, perfectly designed to pierce major blood vessels. But the most terrifying change isn't physical, it's neurological. Your brain is rewired for predation. The amygdala, the seat of fear and aggression, swells. Empathy, guilt, and emotional bonds are suppressed. Imagine a life with no remorse, no hesitation, just the relentless drive to feed. This isn't just speculation. Even in nature, viruses and parasites can change the behavior of their hosts. The rabies virus makes animals aggressive and more likely to bite, increasing its own chances of transmission. Toxoplasma gondii, a parasite, can change the behavior of rodents, making them less afraid of cats, its final host. Is it such a leap to imagine a virus that could design the perfect predator physically and psychologically? Let's step away from the hypothetical for a moment. Think about cases like the vampire of Sacramento, Richard Chase, whose mental illness and delusions led him to kill and drink the blood of his victims. While this is not due to any virus, it highlights a grim truth. The line between myth and reality is often blurred by the extremes of human behavior and biology. And remember, not all transformations are monstrous. Some people with rare genetic conditions have been treated as outsiders, feared and misunderstood by their communities. The stigma, the whispers, the rituals to ward off evil, they are not just about vampires. They're about the human urge to explain what we don't understand and to defend ourselves against what frightens us. Let's get back to our theoretical virus. The infected can't survive on anything but human blood, thanks to a missing protein found only in our species. Their digestion adapts, their gut flora changes, but there's a catch. Not everyone is susceptible. Some humans have a natural immunity, producing antibodies that neutralize the virus before it takes hold. This hidden layer of defense may be why humanity has survived alongside such predators if they exist. This mirrors real life. Consider malaria disease that shaped entire human populations, leading to the evolution of sickle cell trait as a genetic defense, or HIV resistance in some Europeans due to a mutation called CCR5-delta32. Evolution is a dance between predator and prey, disease and host. Our legends might just be a reflection of these ancient, invisible battles. But the story doesn't end there. When prey becomes scarce, vampires can enter hibernation, slowing their bodies to a near-dead state, waiting for the right moment to return. This could explain the centuries-old legends of vampires awakening, the years of silence, and why outbreaks often seem to flare up in cycles. And here's where it gets truly fascinating: acute as defense. Studies suggest that right angles and geometric designs, common in human construction, can actually overload the altered brains of these predators. Maybe that's why so many vampire myths focus on crosses, churches, and the safety of the home. The so-called crucifix glitch is less about faith and more about the unintended genius of human design. We didn't just build monuments to faith, we built neurobiological traps for predators our ancestors feared. Even in the natural world, some animals use patterns and shapes as defense mechanisms. The way zebra stripes confuse predators, or how certain insects mimic leaves and sticks to hide. Our architecture might serve a similar purpose, a subconscious defense against threats we once knew but have forgotten. Let's not underestimate folklore. Myths persist because they encode real dangers, just in a form we can pass down. The aversion to mirrors, perhaps due to hyperactive self-recognition circuits gone awry. The fear of garlic, possibly linked to real biological effects. The rule that vampires can't enter a home uninvited, our need to define the safe zone. All may have their roots in long-lost observations and survival strategies. Think about how some traditional remedies, dismissed for centuries, turn out to have real medicinal properties. Willow bark for pain, now aspirin. honey as an antibacterial agent, or moldy bread, the source of penicillin. Myths often start with a grain of truth. So why does the Vatican, with all its centuries of secret archives, rituals, and scientific skepticism, continue to treat the subject of vampires with caution? Perhaps because, deep down, we all sense that some monsters are born of biology, not fantasy, and that the real danger isn't just what lurks in the shadows, but what lives within us, the mutating, evolving threats we carry in our blood and bones. And maybe, just maybe, the true story of vampirism isn't about immortality or evil, but about the ever-shifting boundary between human and other, between civilization and the wild, between myth and the merciless logic of evolution. As we reach the end of this journey through science, myth, and fear-own question lingers. Why do some legends refuse to die? Why do stories of vampires haunt our collective memory across continents and centuries, regardless of culture or religion? Maybe it's because these tales are more than entertainment. They're warning codes passed down, half-remembered truths encoded in folklore and ritual. Perhaps our ancestors, facing predators both real and invisible, embedded their knowledge in stories so vivid they'd survive the centuries, waiting for us to understand. When we peel back the layers of superstition and look at the world through the lens of science, what we find isn't comfort, it's humility. For all our advances, we're still vulnerable to forces we don't fully understand. Whether it's a mutagenic virus, a genetic quirk, or the primal fear of the unknown, the line between us and monster is thinner than we'd like to believe. History reminds us, some of humanity's greatest strengths come from our ability to adapt, learn, and encode survival into story. The rituals that once seemed strange, midnight vigils, building homes with sharp corners, the power of an invitation might be the very things that kept us safe when science couldn't explain the threat. Consider how, for centuries, smallpox was fought not by understanding the virus, but by ritual and custom quarantines, blessed cloths, circles drawn in ash. These weren't foolish superstitions. They were the first, desperate lines of defense. Our myths may be the same. The memory of a time when the monsters were real, and the price of forgetting was death. So, what should we carry forward from this exploration? It's not just about vampires or secret Vatican fears. It's about never underestimating the wisdom hidden in the stories we inherit. Science and myth aren't enemies, they are partners in the endless struggle to make sense of danger, to survive, and to outsmart the predators at our door, real or imagined. In the end, perhaps the greatest lesson is this: every legend starts with a kernel of truth. The key is to listen, investigate, and never assume we know all there is to fear, to respect about the unknown. Stay curious, stay cautious, and remember, Semites, the oldest fears are the ones most worth listening to. Thanks for watching. For more explorations into mythology, science, and hidden history, subscribe and join us next time.